You have so many things to do and not enough meeples to do them.
Sounds like you're playing a worker placement game.
But what is worker placement?
Let's talk board game basics. In worker placement games, players use pieces to select an action they want to do during their turn.
The action could be collecting resources, upgrading things you already have, or even getting more workers.
And you usually select that action by putting pieces on a specific spot on the board.
Different games will put their own spin on it, but for the most part, these are the basics of worker placement.
You place workers, meeples, or some other game piece on a space in order to choose an action to take from a limited selection of actions.
Usually if a space is occupied by one player's workers, it will either be more expensive for other players to take the action or blocked completely.
Players usually have a limited number of workers, which will either reset automatically at a specific time, or they will have to use a turn to get their workers back in their supply. Worker placement games are also sometimes called action drafting games because you're taking actions from a limited selection of available actions. Those actions are represented by spaces on the board, and you take those actions by playing one of your pieces on the action space.
Sometimes when you place a worker, you get to do the action right away, like in Century Endless World. When I place my worker here, I get a green gem immediately.
But sometimes you're setting up actions that will happen later, like in Honeybuzz. You're building a hive, and once you have a closed cell, like right here, you get to take all the actions touching it. But you choose the tiles that you're going to use to build the hive by putting your bee on this board right here. If I place it here, I can get a forage tile, and if I place it here, I can get a new bee tile, which will give me more workers when it's activated. And all of these spaces do a different action when I put a worker on them.
And once your workers are placed, you leave them there, at least for a little while. You only have a specific amount of workers that you can use. So when you're out of workers, you do what most games call recalling workers, where you use your whole turn to bring all your workers back into your supply.
In most worker placement games, if a spot is occupied, it's either blocked or more expensive to use, like in Honeybuzz. If a spot is empty, then it only costs 1 bee to use. But if someone else wants to use that space, then it costs 2 bees. And the next player would have to place 3 bees, and so on.
And in Century, if someone else is occupying a space, I have to oust them so I can be at that space. And I do that by placing the required number of workers, which is shown right here, plus 1 extra worker, and that sends the other player's workers back to their supply. And that's the basics of worker placement. If you like worker placement, leave us a comment and tell us your favorite.
And if you have a topic you want us to talk about in a future episode of Board Game Basics, let us know. We'll see if we can do it.
Thanks for watching.
And be sure to subscribe right here.
And watch our other videos over here.
See you later.
Bye!